Welcome back to module number 2 of the course Truman's Exit, where let's begin. So we begin with a meme. The woman is saying it's only been 10 minutes, and the man is saying emotionally it's been 3 business days. Right? So a little bit of humor that shows a little bit how relativity works, right? All right, let's continue. So module number 2, we're going to be discussing time bender. Time bender. Humans spend time where they find joy, right? So on the left side, we see the projected joy, vicarious experiences. Of course, the first module we were speaking about consciousness awareness. You are a consciousness, you have a body. And so in Time Bender, we're discussing projected joy, vicarious experiences, such as the person that loved watching movies and playing video games, right? That's a projected shadow self and living through an avatar. So you're the consciousness, you are a consciousness, you have a body, a real body, and which is in the sense an avatar, but this is a real avatar that your real avatar is living through a projected body or a projected avatar, right? As we would see here. Contrasting to the right side, present joy or real experiences, right? We're seeing there's this person is outside, getting sunlight, there's other people outside, a real human living in the present moment. Now, this course may be a little bit scary, but this is my life's research thus far, and so there's many things to be uncovered, and all of it will be revealed within the course of this course with the 14 modules. You're only on module number 2, right? So don't worry too much if you are worried. All right. So in the middle there it says, both can create joy, relating to the left side and the right side of what we're looking at. Both can bend time, right? You choose your focus. Okay, let's look at the bottom. The projected world gives instant rewards. The real world gives lasting rewards, right? So it's very easy to pick up a video game and start playing. You score points, right? Maybe you jump on the Roblox server. There's other people there. You invite your friends to play games, right, on Roblox. So it's like very instant, right? In the real world, you'll find for like a similar type of, from the brain standpoint, you may like this would be equivalent to like running a business, making money, doing partnerships, and just different things that would, grow and stimulate that particular part of the brain. But it's not as instant in the real world. So, and of course, the real world gives lasting rewards because it's real, right? Uh, So step one is awareness. Step two, taking small actions. Step three, new habits. Step four, real experiences. Step five, a life well lived. Right. So listen, let me just cut past the fluff of the course for a second. Right. Ultimately, all this is teaching is now the information is very important because without the information, it's almost impossible to come to the truth. And again, we're only on module number 2, but I still want to say the most important thing with this course is the physics behind the reality for you, the viewer, to be firmly based in reality in cause and effect. Because you'll find yourself throughout the course of your life going through so many different situations where you're going to be forced to read other people, read yourself, understand the situation, and it's very important that as much as possible that you're accurately able to like read what's going on in order to make smart and effective choices for your life. That's what this is all about. Now, almost nobody has connected the dots that I've connected, and it's many different. It's like a wide array of different bits of knowledge that I would have come across, and a very small percentage of the knowledge is useful for the experimentations that I've done to be able to do what is going to be in this course. In any event, though, let us continue. Let me read the bottom of the screen. The projected body can inspire the actual body, but it should not replace it. Yeah, absolutely. So it should be an inspiration what you watch in movies, maybe something like a thriller movie, and then maybe you and your friends can go say, "Hey guys, do you guys want to visit an escape room, or let's go do hiking?" That's the real world now versus the inspiration from the projected body, as it said there, right? In any event, let's continue. Okay, so yeah, time bender. So this graph, right? This graph is important because it's showing, fundamentally the objective things. Of course, we see on the y-axis there, the one that's going top to bottom, what's causing joy or happiness, right? And then the x-axis is felt time, the green one, but there's a second x-axis, actual time, right? So felt time, x-axis number one, actual time, x-axis number two, right? When an activity gives us strong stimulation and engagement, felt times speeds up, right? That's why, like, if you're playing video games for like 3 hours, it can feel like it could go by like in 10 minutes, or you're doing something that you're highly engaged. Okay. The key idea, our brain doesn't just experience time, it shapes it. The more engaging an activity, the faster time seems to pass, no matter how much time actually goes by, right? So, listen, with regards to where we're living, how technology is being used, there's so much emphasis, so much money being invested into technology and new technology. It's exciting. Us as humans, we love it, right? And it's obvious the benefits that's going to come with the technology. And that's the reason you're looking at this graph, right? Because the ones that are obvious, the first one we see playing video games, obviously high. The one watching movies, obviously high, right? Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV. Everybody is doing, there's new movies coming into the movie theaters. So it's obvious what those benefits and how it brings joy, how it brings happiness, right? What may not be obvious is being present with no technology. And of course, this is where we're going to go into it. But the importance of the graph is because it is that same graph with regards to the joy and happiness that will be created, the stimulation that will be created when you're by yourself, no technology, just chilling, right? Just chilling, and you'll be able to tap into those benefits with some of the information that will be presented in this course. But the relevancy right now is just for you to take that, and later on in the course, we're gonna put the pieces of the puzzle together, and then towards the end of the course, then we're gonna explain how it all relates back to the moment, the present moment, and the benefits, right? So yeah, just bear with me as we go through it. So a timeless reminder, as I read the screen here. This is a quote from the book On the Shortness of Life by Seneca, that was written a very long time ago, written around 49 AD. Right, so that's about like 2,000 years ago, roughly. Okay, so the quote is, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested." This is Seneca, around 2,000 years ago. The modern internet, I think, it's only been in existence for like about 60 years. And so many of our new technology has not been in existence for so long. And here's a guy 2,000 years ago saying, "Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested." Let's continue. All right, that's a reminder. I need to wrap up. Okay, so we're gonna discuss the marshmallow experiment. So the gist of this, right? So basically, they were testing children. They put them in a room by themselves. Feel free to pause the video and like zoom in, but I'm just gonna kind of give a brief overview. But it's very important. So what happened is the a psychologist, he was experimenting with these kids, right? And he put them in a room one by themselves, one at a time, and put a plate with one marshmallow on the plate. And the experimenter told the child, "I'm gonna leave the room. And in 15 minutes, if you're able to not eat this marshmallow, I'm going to give you a second marshmallow. Very simple, right? And this study was studying instant gratification versus delayed gratification. And so some of the students were able, I think initially it was about 50 students that was studied. Some of them were able to wait the 15 minutes in order to get the reward of the second marshmallow, and it's good, they get the reward. Some of them, however, were not able to wait the 15 minutes and they just ate the marshmallow. So let's see. What did the researchers find? Let's read. They followed the children for years. Children who were able to wait got two marshmallows tended to have better academic performance, on average around 230 points higher on their SAT scores. These were the ones who were able to wait. And these, when they were tested, when they were 4 to 5 years old, those same kids, the ones who were able to wait, when they became SAT score age around what, 16, 17, around 230 points higher they scored. Better focus and attention, going back to the screen, better ability to handle stress and frustration, healthier relationships and social skills, better long term health outcomes, right? And so all it is really, right? All it is to be firmly grounded in reality. And then nobody can take nothing from you, right? Meaning you will be in full control over the outcome, the direction of your life, right? Assuming there's no type of psychological problems or anything. And even if there is, you would speak to your doctor, your therapist, whoever. But the average person, we want to be firmly grounded in reality. And so to understand these things that are going on and see how it affects us in order to best position ourselves, right? So let's go back to the screen. The big idea, self-control is like a muscle, right? Self-control, when that child was unable to wait, some of the kids wait that initial 15 minutes, that's a lack of self-control. Now, granted, they're only 4 and 5 years old, but however, the research would have shown that it's a muscle, and the more you do things you're uncomfortable with, it strengthens that self-control muscle. That is beyond the scope of this course, but we're just speaking for now about instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, so instant gratification versus delayed gratification as it relates to this course, right? We see with movies, instant reward, dopamine spike. But in the real world, the same part of the brain has been lit up from watching movies. That's why when your favorite character dies, you might cry. There's a lot of feelings that's attached, right? In the real world equivalent is making friends, right? Now, but look how it breaks down in the real world with the different steps, right? So the movie is very instant. Like you are a consciousness, you have a body or your real avatar that's projecting. Your consciousness is projecting a shadow, vicarious or fake body into the movies. Suddenly you got friends. Suddenly there's a lot of adventure. Suddenly there's a lot of money. Suddenly there's a lot of relationships. This is instant, right? But in the real world now, it's steps. So let's look at step A on the right hand side there. Put yourself out there. Join, say hi, be present. Step B, build connection, talk, listen, share. Step C, invest time, be consistent, follow up. And it leads to strong friendships, right? So this is not instant. This requires work. This requires understanding. This is real, right? And that's why this distinction is very important, right? So a lot of things in this course will be slowing things down, right? Slowing things down just to make sure we're all on the same page for your benefit, right? And then once it's slowed down, you have a firm grasp of what's going on beneath the surface, then you'll go fast. You'll just keep moving through life, doing your thing, making choices, building schedules. But let's take a step back because the research is showing that we don't really know what's going on, especially our teenagers. Not a big deal though, we're going to be addressing it in this course, so just hang tight. Let's go to the next one. Video games, right? Instant rewards, dopamine spike. You feel like, let me go to the new level. My friends are here. It's very engaging. I might be like the top 10 best percent in the world for a particular video game. and that's really cool, right? But in the real world, same equivalent now. We're looking at instant gratification versus delayed gratification. In the real world, step A, building a company. That's the equivalent. Video games, the points in the video games, in the real world, that's money in the bank. The points in the video games that you play, you got points, boop, you score a goal, you know, on Roblox, you do something, they got points. In the real world, that is a sale, money in the bank. That is a partnership, money in the bank. That is dividends, paycheck, money in the bank, and it's going up. That is the score in the real world, right? But in the real world, it comes with steps. Step A, find a problem worth solving, research or validate. Step B, build the solution, plan, build, test. Step C, get customers, marketing, sales, iterate. Then it leads to growing the company. Now, these are just loose terms, and what these actual steps might be different from person to person or business to business or venture to venture, but it holds truth that it's not going to be instant, right? Let's continue. The last thing it says, your brain can choose easy now or better later. Choose wisely, right? Your brain can choose easy now or better later. Choose wisely. Okay, let's speak about Balaam, Balak, and Pergamum, right? Balaam, Balak, and Pergamum. So these guys are important, and this church, by the way, so Balaam and Balak, these are two men that lived, real men that lived and walked the earth, and Pergamum is the name of a church, right? So the relevance to why we're speaking about them. So there's a popular story, and this is from the Bible it was recorded in. So Balak, right? He was the son of a king for a while, and he also eventually became the king. But he consulted with Balaam, Balaam that's there, right? Who was known as like a person that was very connected to God, and basically he said that the God's people, they're too powerful, and so he wanted some help. He's worried about them. He's scared about them. This is the Israelites. But so this is who God's people were then, right? This is around Bible times. So yeah, Balak was worried. He consulted Balaam. He wants to weaken God's people. He's scared, right? So Balaam is somewhat famous in Christian communities as the person that he would have beat his donkey, and his donkey started talking. But that's usually what people know. People don't really know what's behind the scenes, right? And so it's there, but it's also not there because it shows the direction Balaam was going in. But let me explain it further. So Balak consulted with Balaam. Balaam eventually helped. So Balaam visited Balak, and the goal here now, Balaam, what he was gonna get is like many benefits, many like riches from Balak. And what Balak wanted was for Balaam to curse God's people. So they tried 3 different times. Balaam told Balak up front, listen, I'll do it, but my power is from God. And so they tried 3 different times to curse God's people. They failed. Balaam failed all 3 times, and he ended up blessing God's people. The conclusion then became that they realized they couldn't curse God's people. They needed to do it from the inside out. So they needed to convince them. But this is not recorded. This part, everything else was recorded, I said so far in the Bible, right? You could research it if you like. But this part is not recorded. They realized that they needed to attack them from the inside. So I'm so sorry. That is also recorded. But exactly how they did it is not recorded, right? So the theory is the world that we're living in now, that we see a lot of technology, like the movie The Truman Show, a lot of technology, Netflix replacing friends, video games replacing accomplishments, sports viewing replacing actually doing the sport yourself. And there's a lot of even streamers, right? Teenagers watching, you probably love iShow Speed, Kai Sanat, all the other cool streamers, right? And we the viewer, we're living vicariously through them. Objectively, there's a lot of good benefits, but it shows the world that we're creating where the effect is you, the viewer, you're isolated by yourself in a room watching a phone or a screen, and your brain thinks you're doing all these different things, right? So Balaam and Balak, these are the guys, by the way, the theory. So what I said was recorded, but what's not recorded is that the theory is they created the blueprint. Balaam and Balak created the blueprint for the Truman Show like world we're living in today. So let us continue. Pergamum, right? The relevance of Pergamum. So in the book of Revelations in the Bible, John, who wrote Revelations, when he was speaking to God, the instructions were given to John that um, yeah, the instructions given to John was that the people in Pergamum, they should pull away from the teachings of the Nicolaitans and the teachings of Balaam, right? Because they were confusing things, right? Like we are today in 2026 confusing things with regards to Netflix and making real friends, right? So in any event, these guys that you're seeing, please do your research if this doesn't connect 100%. These guys, in theory, are the guys who created the blueprint to weaken God's people, to use the fake world to compete with the real world. Because one of the two as biggest benefits, by the way, in this is that, and it's taken people away from their ability to be present, which is how you kind of lock into God and create space in your life for God. And the second thing, it promotes human in isolation because so many of your needs are being met vicariously as you're isolated from the people in your community. Right? Let us continue. Yeah. So we mentioned Balaam, Balak, and Pergamum, right? Let's look at this here, for example. We're looking at weekly stimulation schedule comparison, right? So assuming that that theory is correct, that they created it, right? We see today certain groups of people in the world, they practice this thing called Sabbath, where one day a week they're going with no technology, right? So person A, and this is a 23-year-old living in New York City, a typical schedule, right? That's person A. Person B, a 23-year-old living in New York City. However, he's a Sabbath observer, right? So the top graph is the top chart is the typical, that's his stimulation schedule, right? When he's on his phone, he's on his computer, that's his stimulation schedule. Person B, the one below it, that is his stimulation schedule. So we can see on Saturday when there's no technology, there's almost no stimulation, right? So let's read into it a little bit. So for the person A on the right hand side there, it's high stimulation most of the day, every day, constant input, constant demand on attention. Rare true breaks for the brain. So rarely is he taking any breaks. Person B, built-in weekly reset for the brain. This is Saturday, right? Lower overall stimulation across the week. The last one there is more space for rest, reflection, connection, and real life experiences. Guys, I did this experiment on my own, and what I found, by the way, tons of benefits. Number one. Number two, assuming Balaam, Balak, Pergamum, and the Nicolaitans, all that is correct, the theory is correct, you're looking at the only cure that exists for it. Because what you're going to find is that when you're not being stimulated, there's a longing to be stimulated. When you're awake, immediately you're going to try to get stimulated. And so when you actually practice something like this, tons of benefits. But one of the most practical one is that the additional 6 days of your week, your ability to focus, because you're now more comfortable being bored, your ability to focus increases every day of the sixth day. So it's not necessarily what you're losing by giving up the technology for the one day, but also what you're gaining for the 6 days, right? And the same group of people, in theory, that hold the Sabbath consistently every Friday 6 p.m. to every Saturday 6 p.m., no technology, in theory are the same group of people who were connected with Balaam, Balak, Pergamum Nicolaitans, right? Let us continue. So yeah, in summary, time moves faster when you are having fun. Fun exists in video game, movies. Also, there's real life counterparts, video games. Building a company or having a job and watching movies. The real life counterparts to that would be hanging out with friends, going on adventures with your friends. Next, delayed gratification versus instant gratification. It's a muscle and you should callous it. Callous it meaning um, try to do things, try to be open minded about doing things that make you uncomfortable if you believe it's things that's going to be good for you, right? For example, running. Nobody really likes to run, but running has tons of benefits. Pumping blood around the body, making you more fit, helping you to lose weight if that's what you want to do. Callous it, right? The next one, Balama Balak may be responsible for the Truman Show like world we live in today. The Sabbath is the cure for it. So you don't necessarily have to go 1 day a week with no technology. You could. It is recommended because tons of benefits. However, the discipline could also be like maybe 1 hour a day. You decide you're going to go with no technology when you're eating breakfast. 1 hour a day, you decide you're going to have no technology when you're eating dinner. Or any type of rituals or rules like that that could bring tons of benefits, right? Because then your brain will be comfortable with less or no stimulus. Continuing, yeah. So the Sabbath is the cure for it, and one must ponder: if not the Sabbath, how do we limit technology within specific parts of our day? Yeah, such as breakfast or dinner or week. Let's continue. Okay, homework. There is homework here. Usually for most of the 14 modules, there's not homework, but this one has. So the homework here is for you to watch the movie Tenet by Christopher Nolan. Only if you're age 13 or up, though, because of the rating for the movie. At 13 years or up, please watch the movie Tenet. When you're watching the movie Tenet, by the way, for most people, I think it's a bit of a confusing movie. I love it. It's one of my favorites. Not the favorite, but it's one of my favorites. I love it though. And so when you're watching it, look out for moments when the main characters have to make a decision in the present moment and trust himself in the future to be on the receiving end of the choice that was made in the past present moment. Let's continue. So this is the end of module number 2. I'll see you in module number 3.